My friendship with Danes began in the quiet corners of our workplace, with whispered secrets exchanged during coffee breaks. Over time, our bond grew. Lunch breaks turned into evening teas, then weekend meets. The night she told me, "You're like family to me now," I believed the sincerity in her eyes. Until, barely 6 months after my divorce, I saw them together at a mutual friend's wedding. There she was wearing the necklace I had gifted her, holding my ex-husband's hand. I couldn't even bring myself to call and ask, "How could you?" The answer came in the form of an engagement photo on Instagram. Found my soulmate. Years passed. I built a new life, learned to breathe again. Then, recently, a friend murmured to me that Danes was filing for divorce. "He's controlling, she's exhausted," they said. A sharp, ugly voice inside me hissed, "Serves her right." Guilt followed immediately. But then I wondered, maybe this was justice in its own way. Maybe Danes was only now realizing what I had endured. The way he picked apart every decision made me feel small, convinced me I was the one who needed fixing. Maybe she hadn't apologized because she still believed she'd done nothing wrong. Or maybe, like me, she'd been fooled too. One evening, an old song played on the radio, one we'd both loved. I closed my eyes and pictured her. The anger in my chest softened into something sadder, quieter. If only, I whispered, that left the thought unfinished. If only what? If only she hadn't betrayed me. If only he weren't him. If only I hadn't been me. Perhaps forgiveness was this: stealing back the power to let someone hurt you, while remembering they, too, were breakable. When the song ended, I made a silent wish for Danes. "I hope one day you feel as free as I do now." Then, under my breath, the way I had to learn to be. Because the real victory wasn't in their downfall, it was in no longer carrying the weight of what they'd done. And I'd finally set it down.
The winter we met, the cold bit harder than our hunger. Just a 15-year-old girls huddled under a bridge, passing a single cigarette back and forth like it was the last warmth on earth. That's how our friendship started, in the kind of desperation that either destroys people or binds them together forever. For 40 years, I believe we were the latter. When she finally got her Section 8 housing in '98, I was the one who helped her move in. When my daughter was born 3 months early, she sat in that NICU with me for 72 hours straight. We'd survived shelters, abusive boyfriends, and a particularly nasty heroin phase in our early 20s. Through it all, we had this unspoken creed: nobody else understands us, so we take care of each other. That's why in 2018, when she inherited that crumbling bungalow from her aunt, I didn't hesitate. "We'll fix it up together," she said, eyes shining with the same hope I remembered from when we'd split a lottery ticket 20 years prior. "You know I'll make it right when it sells." I should have noticed the manic edge in her voice. Should have recognized the signs from when she'd stopped taking her meds back in 2009, but loyalty makes you blind. For 8 months straight, I spent every weekend at that house. My contractor boyfriend lent me his tools, his livelihood, when I promised we'd be careful with them. I drained $3,200 from my emergency fund for materials after she swore she'd repay me with interest. The day we finished the kitchen, she opened a bottle of cheap champagne and said, to us, $5,000 for you as soon as the papers are signed. The house sold in 3 days, all cash offer. Then came the excuses. First it was the lawyers holding up the funds. Then I need to pay back taxes. Then radio silence. When I showed up at her new apartment, my tools were in her storage unit, just keeping them safe. But the lock had been changed. The real gut punch came 6 months later when her niece messaged me. Auntie said you cheated her on the reno. That's when I saw the pattern. The hairstylist she'd stiff for 6 months of blowouts. The mechanic now repossessing her car. The parade of personal assistants who quit after 2 payless weeks. Last I heard, she's living in a motel outside Bakersfield. Sometimes I still dream about our bridge days. How we'd promised through chattering teeth that someday we'd have warm beds and full refrigerators. We got what we wished for, just not together. These days, I keep my tools locked up and my promises on paper. But some nights, when the wind howls just right, I catch myself hoping her heater works. Old habits die harder than friendships.
We met in Mrs. Henderson's 6th grade homeroom. 2 girls with matching Lissa Frank Trapper keepers, and the same nervous giggle when called on to read aloud. For 23 years, we moved through life in synchronized steps. First crushes, college rejections, matching engagement rings the summer after graduation. When we stood beside each other in identical peach bridesmaid dresses at 24, everyone said we were more like sisters than friends. The symmetry continued through our soccer mom years. Minivans purchased the same week, babies born 9 days apart, standing side by side at PTA meetings, while our husbands golfed together every Sunday. We even developed the same nervous tic of checking our phones constantly, though neither of us would admit we were waiting for messages that never came from men who'd rather be anywhere else. The fracture started quietly. My first therapy session, just to vent, I told her, turned into a realization that I didn't have to live with the constant criticism, the silent treatments, the way my stomach knotted when his car pulled into the driveway. When I told her I was leaving, her face did something terrifying. It went completely blank. "You're breaking up your family over feelings," she said, voice dripping with something worse than disapproval. Contempt. What followed was a masterclass in passive aggression. The concerned posts in our mom group about women who abandon their responsibilities. The way she'd sigh and change the subject when I mentioned my new partner. The final straw came when I overheard her at our kids' soccer game. "Some people just need constant male validation," she told the bleachers, loud enough for my new boyfriend to hear. The silence after our fight was deafening. For months, I'd wake at 3 a.m. mentally drafting angry texts. Then one morning, I caught my reflection while making coffee. And for the first time in decades, I wasn't rehearsing apologies or excuses. The weight of her judgment had been so constant, I hadn't noticed how it stooped my shoulders. Last Christmas, our old neighbor mentioned seeing her at the grocery store. Still driving the same minivan, still wearing that strained smile. Now with a mobility scooter for the diabetes complications. I felt a pang of something that wasn't quite pity, more like recognition of the bullet I dodged. My daughter found our old photo albums recently. There we are in every picture. 2 girls turned women moving in lockstep. Until the page where only one of us chose to dance to a different rhythm. These days, when my husband kisses me goodbye in the morning, I sometimes think about how she once called me selfish for wanting to be loved out loud. The greatest gift she ever gave me was showing me exactly what I didn't want my life to be.
In my college, I had a friend, and we instantly became kind of best friends. I'm an introvert, and back then I used to think that having one real friend is better than having many fake friends. So she was my only friend in college. I talked to my other classmate too, but not much. My work was good, so other top students used to approach me for friendship, but she was not comfortable with them that time, so I didn't hang out with them. But after a year, she became comfortable with the other classmates, and she replaced me like, I don't matter to her even a little. I left all alone. I don't call someone my best friend instantly, but she used to say this a lot of times that I am like her younger sister, and she is really attached to me, so I believed her. And her words were just words, but for me, she was like my real sister. When she replaced me, I tried to confront her, but she very smartly pinned everything on me. Now she used to hanging out with those top students, traveling with them, attending summits, parties, and birthdays. But whenever she needed any help, she again asked me for help, and I couldn't say no to her because I was stupid, emotional, and immature that time. And in front of me, she used to say that those topper guys are not her friends, and she doesn't even consider them good human beings. And we are friends LOLXD, for years past like this. Because of my career and home stuff, I got into depression in my 4th year. Just after our 4th year, everyone left college for masters. And then her birthday came. I sent her a gift, made a chibi illustration for her, and so on. And a week later at 10 p.m. at night, my depression rises to that peak where I couldn't control my suicidal thoughts. I was continuously having emotional breakdowns, and I was not able to control my thoughts. I really need to talk to someone, and she was the only option, so I texted her and told her about my situation and asked her if she had 10 minutes for me. I usually don't ask for help and used to handle things by myself. So she texted me back that she will call me tomorrow. The whole next day, I was waiting for her call, and in the evening, I got to know that she forgot. And it's not like that she's also having a rough time. She was enjoying her new master's college life. That day, my depression became even worse than before, and it took me a week to control my thoughts and brain, by dumping myself into so much work so that my brain can't think of anything else, and eventually drains out at night and sleeps. It was a toxic workaholic thing, but it worked for me. I was still depressed, but now I can control my worst thoughts. She called for once after 20 days just for formality, but I didn't pick up her call, because after my graduation, I didn't do a master's. I didn't get a chance to make new friends, and now I am doing a work-from-home job. My salary is good, but I don't have any friends. And my brain is still stuck in that friendship betrayal thing. I want to move on, but I am not able to. I am not able to forgive myself for caring so much and giving so much importance to someone like her. And I am not able to forgive her that she left me to die like she doesn't care that I die today or tomorrow. Forgot to mention she was an extrovert and the prettiest girl in our class. And now I don't know what to do.
I still remember how excited I was when my best friend of 6 years, Sarah, insisted I join her and our mutual friend Jess on a week-long trip. At the time, money was tight for me, but Sarah wouldn't take no for an answer. "You have to come. It won't be the same without you," she kept saying, her voice full of enthusiasm. Eventually, I caved, scraping together what I could to make it work. But the moment we arrived, something shifted. Sarah, who had always been warm and supportive, suddenly turned cold, but only toward me. Around everyone else, she was her usual bubbly self, laughing and making inside jokes. With me, snide remarks, eye rolls, and passive-aggressive comments about everything from how I packed to the way I laughed. Was like walking on eggshells. The worst part, I couldn't figure out why. Had I done something wrong? Said something to upset her? I replayed every interaction in my head, but nothing made sense. Jess noticed it too. I could see the confusion in her eyes whenever Sarah made another jab. But she stayed quiet, not wanting to stir the pot. By the end of the week, I was exhausted, emotionally drained from the constant undercurrent of hostility. On the last night, I finally pulled Sarah aside and asked, "What's going on? Did I do something?" Instead of an explanation, she deflected. "Oh, I don't even want to talk about this trip anymore. It was just a lot." No apology, no clarity, just vague self-pity, as if she were the one who'd been mistreated. When we got back, things never really went back to normal. Sarah would occasionally reference the trip as that weird, traumatic week we don't talk about, which felt like a slap in the face. Traumatic. The only trauma was her sudden cruelty. Over the next couple of years, Jess and I grew closer partly because we'd bonded over that strange experience, but also because we just clicked. Sarah, however, didn't like that. She started making little comments. "You two are always off in your own world now," with a tight smile. Then, one day out of nowhere, I went to message her and realized I'd been blocked. On everything. No fight, no conversation. Just gone. Jess later told me Sarah had been ranting about how people always replace her. Classic victim mentality. It was never about me doing anything wrong. It was about her inability to handle not being the center of attention. The hardest part wasn't even losing her. It was realizing that after 6 years of friendship, I meant so little that she could erase me without a second thought. That kind of betrayal makes you question everything. Was I ever really her friend? Or just someone she kept around to feel superior? But here's what I've learned. Some people don't value loyalty. They value control. And when they can't control you anymore, they disappear. It hurts, but it's also the clearest sign that walking away was the best thing that could have happened. Real friends don't punish you for having other friends. They don't tear you down to feel better about themselves. And they certainly don't make their issues your fault. It took time, but I'm finally at peace with it. Because the truth is, her loss.
I still remember the exact moment Lena messaged me about the trip. My phone buzzed late at night, and there it was, a string of excited texts punctuated by heart emojis and all caps, "You have to come with us." She wrote, "It won't be the same without you." At the time, I was barely making rent, let alone able to afford a vacation, but Lena wouldn't take no for an answer. She kept insisting, "We'll figure out the money stuff. This is more important." That should have been my first red flag. The week started off fine, or at least, it seemed that way on the surface. We arrived at the beach house, unpacked our bags, and cracked open drinks to celebrate the beginning of our vacation. But by the second day, I noticed the shift. Lena's tone with me was different, sharper, colder, while she remained sweet and bubbly with Mia and anyone else around. It was the little things at first, a sigh when I suggested a restaurant, an exaggerated eye roll when I told a story she'd heard before. Then it escalated, backhanded compliments about my clothes, mocking laughter when I mispronounced a word, and most confusingly sudden silences whenever I entered a room, like I'd interrupted some secret conversation. The worst part? She did it all with a smile, Mia noticed. I could tell by the way she'd glance between us, her expression caught somewhere between concern and discomfort. But she never said anything in the moment. None of us wanted to ruin the trip by calling out the tension. By day 4, I was walking on eggshells. I'd find myself rehearsing jokes before saying them aloud, terrified of Lena's inevitable sarcastic comeback. I stopped offering opinions, stopped being myself, really, because every time I did, she found a way to twist it into something embarrassing or wrong. The breaking point came during a group outing. We were at a crowded bar when Lena loudly announced to the table, "Oh my God, you always do this thing where you try too hard to be funny, it's so awkward." The table went quiet. My face burned. That's when I realized this wasn't just in my head. She was deliberately trying to humiliate me. The flight home was the longest 3 hours of my life. Lena sat across the aisle, laughing with a stranger, while I stared out the window, replying every cruel comment, every smirk, every time she'd made me feel small. When we landed, I finally confronted her in the parking lot. "What was that all about?" I asked, my voice shaking. "You treated me like crap all week." Her response, a shrug, "You're so sensitive." It was just jokes. Then she turned and walked away, leaving me standing there with my suitcase and a million unanswered questions. The aftermath. Back home, things were never the same. Lena would occasionally bring up the trip in group chats, calling it that weird, traumatic mess or joking, but not really joking that we should never speak of it again. The audacity of it made my blood boil. She was the one who had made it miserable. She was the one who had spent the entire week needling me, then acted like the victim when I dared to call her out. Over the next 2 years, Mia and I naturally grew closer. We had always gotten along, but after that trip, there was an unspoken understanding between us, a shared knowledge that Lena wasn't the person we thought she was. We never badmouthed her, we just drifted toward each other. Lena noticed, and she hated it. At first, it was subtle little comments here and there. "You two are so obsessed with each other now," she'd say with a fake laugh. Then it escalated to outright exclusion. She'd make plans in front of me and forget to invite me. She'd post pictures with Mia and other friends, captioned *my ride or dies, less than 3 * a phrase she used to say to me all the time. Then, one day, I went to text her and realized I'd been blocked. On everything, no fight, no explanation, just gone. The realization, at first, I was hurt. Then I was angry. Then, finally, I saw the truth. Lena didn't value me, she valued what I provided for her. When I was her loyal, adoring best friend, she loved me. The second I developed a close bond with someone else, the second I stopped revolving around her, I was disposable. It took me a long time to stop blaming myself, to stop wondering, what did I do wrong? The answer, nothing. Some people are just like that. They love you when you're convenient, when you make them feel good about themselves, when you don't challenge their ego. But the moment you step out of that role, you're nothing to them. Moving on, these days, I'm closer with Mia than ever. And Lena, she's just someone I used to know. Someone who taught me a hard but important lesson. Real friends don't make you feel like you're auditioning for their approval every single day. The betrayal still stings when I think about it too much, but mostly, I'm grateful. Grateful to be free of a friendship that was never really about friendship at all. Grateful to have people in my life who love me for me, not for what I can do for them. And most of all, grateful that I finally learned my own worth. Because no one should ever make you feel like you're too much or not enough just to suit their ever-changing moods. Some people aren't meant to stay in your life, and that's okay.
Another one was from high school. Got serious about my faith and started practicing hijab. So the first day of grade 10, I was wearing hijab for the first time at school. I was feeling quite confident, but I guess my friends, not so much. About 10 non-Muslim friends I had from all different backgrounds acted different starting that day. Childhood best friends stopped talking to me or acknowledging my existence in the hallway. Good friends from the year before did the same. Some peers that I had met in prior classes that would always share a smile or ask how I was in the hall stopped. I actually could not fathom how different I was treated, despite being the same exact person. Some of them probably didn't know I was Muslim before then, but many did. Looking back, I am thrown off by the blatant but quiet hatred I was receiving from literal children. Luckily, I had a good group of Muslim girls to fall back on who supported me with open arms. But it really took a toll on me over that year.
The story is long, so I'm gonna try to sum it up. I was close friends with this girl, let's call her Clara. We were actually roommates. Before all that, I met a guy, and we started dating. Then I figure out that he was her ex from a long time ago, and she told me that they are still friends, and there's no big deal. So everything was okay. We actually hang out, all three of us together, and all, she used to tell me everything about her and about him, also about his other exes and stuff, so it felt like I was more close to her. Anyway, times go by and she started ghosting me, both of us actually. When I confronted her, she told me that she doesn't feel comfortable hanging out with both of us. I told her it's okay, we can hang like just me and her, but she nicely declined. It was weird and I felt hurt. But like, I respected her choice. We never cut ties, I mean, we stayed in contact and all. But we just didn't hang out anymore. Anyway, 2 years passed me, and my BF got serious and asked me to marry him, but we decided to hold the marriage thing for a little while. One day he told me that he met Clara for a coffee. I thought it way weird, but I didn't think much of it. I thought, okay, she contact me. But guess what? She didn't, so I took the first move and asked her directly why she didn't told me like we used to talk and all. She refuses meeting me, but meeting him is okay. She said that she didn't think much of it since she knows that we live together, so he will eventually tell me. He actually told me, but I wanted her to tell me girls for girls no. Anyway, I blocked her right away because I felt it was disrespectful. I talked to him and told him that I'm not comfortable with all of that. He said like, we're just friends, and if you don't want me talking to her, I won't. So 2 months passed. When I was with him, I saw a text MSG coming from her, asked why are you talking to her and about what exactly. He told me that she's going through a breakup and she wanted someone to talk to. Anyway, I couldn't get that over my head. It was hurting me, and so I finally told him I can't get over this till I read your conversation. I read all of it, and there was some text flirting and stuff. I broke up with him because of all the flirting. And I talked to her, wanted to know WTF is that. She said, TBH, I didn't like you reading my text messages because there is some of my private life there, and said is good with you. It's just his ego. Breaking up with him is illogical, and I'm overreacting. and finally said she's not the one who should tell me that they met he should anyway. I know, she's an awful person, and she's not a girl's girl. All she wanted is attention. I cut her off for good, but I still can't get over it. I cry every night, and I feel extremely hurt, especially from her.